Artanis, where do we have him?
Artanis is comp dependent, basically, because you're gonna want to be using a gateway army, which I guess could be problematic against certain enemy comps. Basically, anywhere where you can just get away with just using dragoons, then you're gonna have an easy time. If you have to add like Zealot Templar, it'll be okay. If you're against like Terran Mech or something and you start having to add like really valuable units, it's gonna be a bit more painful, but still not too terrible. It's not great because fear is going to start to actually hurt for those non-gateway units.
Okay.
So basically, if it's an easy comp, then Artanis will be really, really easy to execute and plenty effective. So like A tier. If it's a hard comp, then you're going to find that the enemy attack waves feel overwhelming with just die, especially if it's a spawner hybrid and a hard comp, then it's going to be really a pain to deal with the hybrid. And he's probably going to be like B tier, but probably not as low as C tier because at least you still have like, at very minimum, your top bar is very effective at purging hybrid and grabbing parts from bases, especially if you have P3 and you can just drop space archons to rip through an entire base and pick up the parts all at once.
You're saying that no matter what happens, Artanis is always better than Abathur?
Absolutely.
Absolutely
Because
not.
his top bar alone is better than Abathur, I think.
What do you
If you're
say,
P3.
Tutu?
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
Abathur is only rough until he gets like 4 swarm hosts. Once he gets 4 swarm hosts, he actually like walks through everything because your stuff don't get feared anymore since you have enough. You have a constant stream of locusts. Artanis struggles he struggles a lot. So if the enemy comp is not favorable, you're gonna lose a lot of stuff. You might not even kill them, and they just everything of yours will die or get feared. And especially if they're like a Zerg comp or something, there's just a lot of them, and they all have 2 lives. Even with the good comp, I don't think he's A. He's not that good.
Yeah.
I used P2, so I had like stim to kill stuff faster, which was good. I used the first solar to kill the drill so that I could collect stuff in peace a little easier. And still it was he wasn't terrible. He's just not like he wasn't that good.
He wasn't fantastic. He wasn't A.
Yeah, I put him in C because I don't think he's bad. I just think he's average.
What do you say to that, Sticksbender?
So I can like quickly find something. I honestly feel like you are significantly overestimating the amount of difficulty that you're going to have because his top bar is still a complete delete on an entire base or an entire wave, which he has access to every 3 minutes. His solar bombardment will take a good chunk out of a base or delete a wave or take a good chunk out of the hybrid every 5 minutes. Your army doesn't actually have to fight that much on this map because this map isn't one where it's like constant waves which bog you down. It's relatively little actually fighting things head on this map for Artanis because his like steady stream of like every few minutes I can just delete a problem without actually confronting it really allows him to really works out well on this map. This is not a map where you have more waves than Artanis can keep up with. So I feel like you just literally, and meanwhile, the flip side I would say for Abathur is I actually think that like Abathur does not have that strong of a past early game because I've had like 15 swarm hosts against Just Die Mutations with Brutal Plus on this map and literally lost to running out of time because even if Fear and Laser Drill aren't going to kill you, swarm hosts are slow, like agonizingly slow.
If you're not P2, yeah.
Yeah, if you're not P2, true. But even with P2, swarm hosts are not that fast. You actually, I feel like Abathur probably has like a bit of a time crunch until he gets to like a big swarm host army.
when you have a big enough swarm host army, you don't fight. You just target the parts and then you run.
Okay, so you're telling me that you have to micro your locusts in order to grab parts and then run away because you don't have time to fight.
You
That
don't need
sounds
to
like
fight
a
them.
lot of time crunch.
The most important thing is to get the parts. So
Okay,
with P2, your locusts move faster. You just walk in while they're getting hit. You shoot them down because they have longer range, and then you take the parts, and then you go to the next area.
My
If you
point
are
is that
short on time.
My point is you can't fight them because you run out of time.
Actually, if that's the strategy, then can't Artanis just make a Phoenix and then just drop Zealots to pick up the parts? So his
No.
army doesn't have to fight?
That-
No, this is Abathur just walked past and
No,
grabbed
I'm
parts.
talking about Artanis. Artanis can, if
Artanis
we're talking about that
can't do
strategy, Artanis can just make a Phoenix, fly it around, warp in Zealots using the vision and the power field, and collect parts using the Zealots. Wouldn't that
There are
be
two problems
similar?
with this. One, Zealots do not have as much health as an Ultralisk, unlike Locusts. Two, Zealots are not free, unlike Locusts.
I guess that's true. Still, if we're talking about not having to fight the waves, that's probably one way to do it.
With less HP, don't you get higher chance of being feared?
Yes.
Do the boxes provide vision for the laser?
The gear dudes do. The boxes don't.
Okay, so there are parts. Okay, I guess you can't necessarily clear out. Oh, that's fair. That's fair. All right, continue.
To be fair, the fact that Artanis actually like punches through things with his top bar and then dragoons for cleanup or whatever means that he can actually get on top of the laser a bit more easily than Abathur. So that he can get rid of the laser drill altogether, which I'm not sure Abathur can do that quickly, because as we established, he's very slow about killing things. His solution to laser drill is, don't worry, I just have so many locusts that the laser drill doesn't actually do meaningful damage, assuming I never accidentally get a swarm host in range of the laser drill. Like, to be clear, I'm not saying that Artanis is like physically stronger than Abathur in an ideal play world. He's not. He's obviously not. Abathur's stronger in an ideal play world. I'm saying that Artanis is strong enough while taking 1,000 times less effort than Abathur.
I wouldn't say
I don't
1,000
think so.
times less effort. I wouldn't even say
No
half as much effort. I don't think.
I don't know.
The amount of
Maybe I'm considering swarm hosts to be a lot more effort than they actually are. But the point is, it's a lot easier to play Artanis here, and he's good enough, I think, which is why I'd say
Swarm hosts are like stronger Stukov infested.
sort of.
Meaning you can
Really?
spam them out more frequently or something.
No, like they're super strong and like you have the numbers are about the same. Well, similar. It feels like it at least. You just have all these like 260 HP swarm locusts that just endlessly spawn once you have 6 swarm hosts.
I guess, but I'm not
You also
sure if
have
that's
to you
how-
have to grab the biomass if you accidentally get into vision of something and the laser locks onto one of your swarm hosts, then the chance it gets feared and then it's just dead. And you lose the biomass.
There's like no chance of it locking on unless you somehow walk in front of where it shouldn't be.
To be fair, casual players will do that.
Plus,
En
you're playing
masse.
Pac-Man with Abathur. Like, I'm basically just saying Abathur has a like very much more room for error. Like, not room for error. Room for error indicates that there's like you can make error without being.
He's much more
toast.
error prone.
Abathur has much more potential for error, and Artanis is like much more laid back. Like, lots of room for error because it's pretty straightforward. You just have to top bar large attack waves and bases, and have a cleanup crew of dragoons and zealots, and that's that.
The Archon dudes get feared. So if one of them gets feared, that's a fifth of your power in that call down gone.
No, because there are
the shooty
orb
things.
things
Yeah, the
keep
shooty
going
things.
even while they're feared, so the majority of their damage continues even while they're feared. Also, their chance of getting feared is pretty low because, as CTG mentioned, the probability of getting feared for any damage tick is based entirely on the health of the target that is getting feared, regardless of the damage that was dealt. So the Archon dudes having 1,000 health means that they don't get feared very easily.
Yeah, chunkier Dubro means less chance of getting feared. Of course, that also works in favor of Abathur's locusts. They also have a minor chance of getting feared. But
Yeah, but not 1,000 health level of minor chance of
my
getting
my
feared.
main problem with Artanis is that his army. I don't know. Maybe I just suck at playing Artanis, but whenever I walk in with dragoons, uh, I lose more stuff than I want to. I just trade not as well as I want to. I lose stuff. I have to. Maybe it's because I don't use shield overcharge enough. Is that the problem?
Possibly.
Possibly. I don't know. I
Possibly,
just.
but like the reality is, like the basic thing is that on this map you should have relatively little walking in with dragoons into things that actually fight back. It should be more walking into, yeah, I dropped Archon dudes on this base, and there's this like 1/2 health Ultralisk that managed to run to the corner over there. He's still alive, and there's like that 2 Zerglings that were over in this corner, so they didn't draw aggro that are alive, and that's it. And that's obviously not going to threaten a ball of dragoons. So that's what you're expecting to face after
How
you
long does
drop
it take
Archons
you
on a base.
to get a ball of dragoons though? I watched your run with Artanis on the deconstruction challenge. I don't think you got that big of a ball soon
That's
enough.
because I was doing Zealot Templar there, and how you do Zealot Templar is you basically play like your Zeratul, but it's top bar only. I had like thousands of minerals and gas in bank, but also tons of gateways, because the whole point was to make sure I maximize my value on warp haste by only warping in just enough to smite a wave right when the wave showed up, and instead of keeping an army in reserve, which was just going to get blown up by environmental mutators, I kept money in reserve, which is why I had thousands of minerals and thousands of gas and just enough gateways to conjure an army to deal with anything that I needed to deal with. With Dragoons, if you're just going straight up for Dragoons, you can max out reasonably quickly.
That how
Assuming
many
they
minutes
don't
are we
die.
talking?
I think 15 minutes is like a slow like that. The 15 minutes is a safe estimate if you assume that like your expansion ends up getting delayed a bit and
I'm a
you end
really
up
slow
losing a couple
player then.
dragoons.
My goodness. I don't really max out with Artanis until like, if that, until like 20 minutes. I don't know. I especially on the map like Part and Parcel, with the laser drill, I'm not gonna get an expansion anytime soon. I'm gonna have to one base for a bit. Do you get?
So technically speaking, you can, although it's kind of like threading the needle with a probe if you want to, but you can just Space Archon fast expand on this map with Artanis. But getting the probe to actually get to the expansion without getting aggro drawn on it and just vaporized by a laser drill is very
Impossible.
thread the needle.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of going against the whole idea that Artanis is like easy
Yeah. I don't think. I
because
don't
that
think
part wouldn't be easy.
15 minutes is something that casual players can do. Maybe
Well,
casual
you
Diamond
don't
League
need to
players or
max out
something.
on Dragoons though. Again, this is a case of I'm arguing that Artanis's top bar solo is so effective that you can pull more than your weight with just the top bar
Just the
on
top
this map.
bar. I'm seriously gonna need to
I'm
relearn how to
gonna
play
doubt that.
Artanis. I don't know. I can't speak to this because I just haven't seen it for myself in my own games. Maybe I just suck at playing Artanis and I need to play more Artanis to see him in your eyes. I don't see Artanis in your eyes.
Did you ever get around to watching the replay about the game that was supposed to be someone who's new to co-op soloing with Artanis? Also, we never managed to get someone who actually was someone you approved of, sadly.
Oh well,
We,
yeah,
we, we had some communication issues and finding correct candidate issues and then recording issues. It's some unfortunate things happened.
yeah. Oh well, that would have been a good video. Anyway,
Well, that was him under your guidance, which is not quite the same as him just doing it on his own, right?
True.
yeah, that's true.
But it was a very good example of what I'm talking about, of how dragoons are supposed to work.
Well, under the right guidance, Abathur can also just get ultimate
I think
evolutions really
guidance would be a
quickly.
lot more difficult with Abathur because like you can't micromanage someone who you're guiding the way that you can micro units. Whereas just telling them, okay, go make another wave of dragoons. Okay, actually get 2 more gateways now. Okay, just start a forge upgrade. That's a little different from, okay, move that slightly to the left. No, you have to move it slightly to the right to draw aggro that way. No, you get to get manually detonate toxic next. Abathur would be a lot harder.
I don't think. Well, I guess that's irrelevant. That's
neither here
irrelevant,
nor
but
there. That's irrelevant.
that's the knowledge of where to make things or how to micro, where to move, which upgrades to get, the build orders. That's pertinent knowledge that I don't think we should entrust low level players to have. Even not even low
No.
me. I don't know that sharp of a build to get an appreciable amount of dragoons that will just push through, or even know when and where to use the top bar such that I won't run out of time or energy to finish this map and have enough dragoons.
All I'm trusting is realize that everything that is touching the right wall and top wall of the map is a big enough base to be worth sending a wave of Archons in. And then when you do that, you will basically want to like spread them out so that like you breadcrumb trail your Archons. You drop one on the edge of the base, and that gives vision to drop one deeper in the base, and that gives vision to drop one deeper in the base, and you just spread Archon dudes across the base. Everything gets drawn aggro to the Archon dudes, dies to little orb things, and then that base is thinned out to the point of being basically cleared, very minimal resistance.
See, I played so long, I did not know that. So I don't
What?
think other people would know this.
Yeah, I think
What part of this is not intuitive?
No, I didn't know that you could just clear the base with an Archon like summon, because I usually just charge in.
Yeah, I guess
People really seem to miss the part where Artanis is a top bar commander ever since P3 came out.
you know what?
Yeah, I use my top bars for waves.
There's probably a reason why Artanis seems so unintuitive. It's because the guys who know how to play Artanis don't really get the message across of how to play Artanis. You should actually get together sometimes, Sixbender, and like make a real how to play Artanis video, because I kind of need to know how you play Artanis so I can see him through your eyes. But for this tier list, I don't think I can. Yeah, if you say Artanis is A, and you've played this as Artanis, and you think and you know strategies that I just don't, or placements and timings that I just don't.
I would say I will remember I did say he's A against an easy comp, B against a hard comp. Potentially there are comps that are hard enough to even make him like C. He's very comp dependent. So I was actually basically saying B.
Yeah, but before we started recording, I had Artanis in D. So that's how that's how massive the gap is for Artanis in your eyes and Artanis in my eyes. I just don't see it. You have to teach me.
All right, fair enough.
But yeah, how about you, Tutu? What do you think?
I put him in C.
So it's just a gap between B and C. I don't know. You guys are gonna have to. Do I have to bust out the coin? I can bust out the coin, if you want. B.
I just don't think that. I just think like combining the like lesser micro macro skills plus knowledge of someone plus like a certain comps just tearing him apart.
And they don't exactly
don't
just tear them apart. They just make it so that you will have to. They basically increase the tightness of your top bar usage because you have less energy to spare because you can't just fight waves head on as easily.
I feel like with P3, people who aren't sure what they're doing are just gonna spam Archons because they think, I gotta kill these guys.
Which will work against the easy comps, by the way. It's just against hard comps that you will run out of energy at an awkward time, and then you will have to expect your ally to actually kill something, anything at all.
You know,
I will also note that for soloing, the energy is tight. If you have an ally at all, doing like 2/3 of the work instead of 100% of the work already makes the energy considerably less tight. But that's besides the point.
Okay, I can't really argue to this. I just don't see Artanis to that level, so I'm not qualified. I don't know, guys. I'll take myself out of this conversation. If you two think you're confident enough to, if you've seen how to play Artanis and you still think it's B, C, you can keep arguing. But if Sticks Better says B, I'll just give him B with a big, fat stamp that says Sticks Bender says so, not me.
I don't think he's B. I don't see how he's better than the current C. Like,
All right.
how is he at Alarak level? I don't get that.
All right. I'll
We can shove him in C unless we haven't reached 10 minutes yet, in which case I need to
Just
keep
wait
arguing.
over
Oh,
time.
we've reached 15 minutes or something.
Well, then he can go in C now.
All right. What I was planning to do, and Zeus will probably know how to do this, is I'll stick Artanis in B, and I'll have Zeus like add an overlay that looks like a stamp that says Stixbender said so, not CTG. That's probably gonna be funnier. But since you agree with C, all right, we'll have him in C.
I mean, like, I think that like there is an argument for him being with Alarak because like Alarak again, it's like literally Alarak and Abathur are both hard. Artanis is easy. Yes, Alarak and Abathur are higher power, but that it like the difficulty of actually getting to the bare minimum is higher.
I think.
So yeah.
I think maybe correct me if I'm wrong. Artanis feels like Artanis' skill is more on knowledge of build orders and timings rather than clicking fast, clicking accurately, and macroing.
You kind of have to micro.
And
Yeah,
also,
kind of
yes, there's that, and also there's like just the biggest thing that I always think about when it comes to micro difficulty is like how forgiving are the commanders of mistakes. Artanis, it takes a pretty spectacular misclick to just lose your entire army all at once, whereas Alarak, if you accidentally attack at the wrong angle and the laser drill locks onto one of your Wrathwalkers, that's devastating. Period. If one Wrathwalker gets laser drill locked on, that's pretty devastating.
By the
Actually,
way,
that's a good note. If you're using P1 Alarak, you should have a War Prism in order to tell that Wrathwalker to stop getting shot at.
I like how you mentioned that it takes a pretty spectacular mistake to lose your entire army to Artanis. I seem to remember a particular moment on Void Launch where you were wondering where your army went. Would you call that a spectacular mistake?
I mean, again, as I said, my army there was mostly in the form of banks, so it was like, oh, I kind of expected you guys to win that, but I guess I'll just summon another wave.
Sure. All
Again,
right.
my entire army with that strat is just Telbrus legions. If they all
Telbrus
die,
legions.
oh no. Anyways.
All right, fine. Let's take Artanis and C and move on.